Yeah. I should have had a better slide to start with the title and stuff, but you know. If you could bump up the font on my notes, that would be great. I'm just kidding, I don't have any notes. We're gonna wing it today. There was a really cool font here, and I didn't submit my slides until about 1 a.m. because I was picking a really good font, but it didn't show up, so that's all right. My name is Joe Sepi, and what was I gonna say? So I couldn't get up on the stage and not talk about something really briefly, so I hope you'll indulge me. And I wanted to just talk for a moment about the tragedy in Uvalde. My hotel room was up by the Capitol, and I walk past the photos of the kids on the steps every morning, and it really kind of breaks my heart. And I'm just shocked and appalled that this sort of stuff keeps happening. Our children keep getting slaughtered in their classrooms. I have a 13-year-old son who is just a little bit younger than the kids that were murdered in Sandy Hook. And I live 2 towns over from Newtown, and that cloud still hangs over the community. It's really such a tragedy. And I don't understand how this keeps happening. So I hope that we're getting to a point where we're all pushing for change. And, I'm not up here to talk politics or policies or thoughts and prayers or anything. I just want to encourage folks to see if they can figure out ways that make sense for them to try and make change on this. I talked to a couple people. There's a place here locally, the Austin Justice Coalition. If you want to donate there, I'm going to spend more time working with the Sandy Hook Promise. But I just couldn't get up here without mentioning it. It breaks my heart. Thank you for indulging me on that for a moment. All right, I am going to try to transition to my talk now. But actually, first, I want to thank the folks who put this event together at the OpenJS Foundation and all the staff. And this is what happens when you put your slides together at 1 a.m. We were having some fun with the logo when we first designed it. I wish Julian was here. My Colombian friends, tell him I say hi. But thanks to everyone who put the event together. And yes, I was a part of the group that helped with it, but that just means I saw all the hard work that went into it firsthand. So thank you to them. It's so great to see all of the familiar faces that I haven't seen in a long time in person, and folks from video calls and new faces. So thank you all for coming out as well. And thank you to our sponsors, which is a good segue into what I'm here to talk to you about. So I work in the Open Technology Department at IBM. And we're a big company, I think a little over 300,000 people last I looked. What I'm going to talk to you about here in terms of us largely avoiding the Great Resignation and the Great Reshuffling is particular to our group. And I think that's part of that is because of the work that we do, being involved in open source, which is very fulfilling. Feels great as an engineer to spend your time in the community. And I saw that at other places that I worked at previously, like Adobe, when we really were focusing on open source. People were very happy, and when they kind of scaled that back, people were a little less happy. But there are lots of reasons to get involved in open source, and today I just want to talk to you a little bit about the fulfillment that it gives for your engineers and what might keep them around longer when we have sorts of great reshuffling and whatnot. A lot of what I'm going to pull is from ibm.com/open source. So if you want to read some more, that link in that blue box is kind of our history of working in open source, because we've been doing it since before it was cool. And strangely, every time I see that word cool, I think it's missing a B in the middle, which just is totally wrong. But yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, and we're usually behind the scenes, and so I don't think people know how involved we are and how long we've been involved. So every opportunity I get to talk about it, I try to. So they gave me a stage, and I said, all right. So I'll give you a couple of historical bits, and then we'll talk more about what's going on these days. But For starters, in the late 1990s, we supported Linux with patent pledges and $1 billion investment in technical and other resources, and helped establish the Linux Foundation, which is host of the OpenJS Foundation and all these other really amazing foundations. And that all happened back in the late 90s and 2000. We also helped to create the Apache Software Foundation. And as founding members, we helped shape the license and governance, served in leadership roles, and contributed to numerous projects. I think it's important to point out, too, that a lot of times when I'm talking about open source, I'm also talking about open governance. And I think that's super important as well. How we govern these open source projects is really integral to how successful they will be. Additionally, we helped lead the creation of the Eclipse Foundation. We've been very involved in Java over the years. We also helped with OpenJDK. We were deeply involved in Cloud Foundry as well. And, that kind of brings us a little bit more current. We're involved in the Open Container Initiative, helped to spin up the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. My buddy Todd Moore was the chairperson of the board there for a while. Not my buddy, my boss. Was chair there for a while. And, Istio, Knative, all of these amazing technologies that are in open source and in these foundations. And also, I don't know if you all remember when IOJS happened and the fork of Node. We were very involved in trying to heal that rift, if you will, and bring the communities back together. And out of that came the Node.js Foundation. And then we continued that work to pull, there we go. To pull the JS Foundation and the Node.js Foundation together to create the, wow, I'm almost out of time already, but that's fine. To create the OpenJS Foundation. And we were a part of the small group that worked to bring those two foundations together. I feel very fortunate because when I was working on that with a few other IBMers, like getting the work done, I was able to start a weekly meeting internally with Todd and my colleague Sam Ruby, who was the president of the Apache Software Foundation, my direct manager, Daniel Bandera, who was the president of the OSGI Alliance. And so we were able to lean on all this internal folks to make that merger be successful, in addition to all the help from the other folks in the community as well. But I feel very fortunate that we were able to pull that group together and really, learn from past experience and how to make this work well. And so now I am program director, and I have a counterpart who also manages a team of open source engineers. We're working in Kubernetes and Istio, Knative, Tekton, and our folks are largely happy, and we have been able to avoid this sort of great resignation and great reshuffling. So I think there are lots of reasons why your company should be involved in open source. And this is another angle to why it's so beneficial to get involved in the community. Because I think people really do get a lot of value out of being a part of that open source community. You learn lots of valuable skills to be working with other people. You don't have some manager who's going to sort things out. You guys have to work it out together. You folks have to work it out together. So I think it's been very helpful for us to keep our folks happy on the teams because of the work that we're doing. So I am right on time, which is fantastic. I am at the IBM booth if you want to talk more about this and the stuff that we're doing at IBM. And you'll notice it's the booth with my face on it. And I'm happy to also talk about local birds. I'm really curious about the birds you have in Austin. Birds are wonderful. But yeah, you'll see me. I'll probably be standing right there next to me. So thanks for listening to my talk. Nice to see you all.